Hello, and welcome back to Mafia Story Comparison. Today we're going to be looking at the first mission, An Offer You Can't Refuse, which takes place in autumn 1930. The mission has the same basic structure in both games. So Tommy is taking a break from driving a taxi. He hears a crash. Two men come around the corner. We will soon find that these are Sam and Polly. They tell him to drive. He obliges. They're being chased by people. He loses them. He drops them off at Salieri's bar. Sam comes back, gives them an envelope and a job offer. Tommy goes home, opens the envelope to find it full of cash, but decides not to take the job off. Going back to the beginning, we have a change in how Tommy talks about his job. In the original, he seems quite content.
Even though I wasn't making much and I worked from dawn to dusk, I was glad to be working. It was a bad time and some other people were worse off than me.
But in the remake, he's not unhappy, but he's clearly trying for more.
I mostly drove nights because the money was better.
Like in the prologue, I believe this is done to make Tommy more active in the story and more ambitious as a character. There's a similar change in how Sam tells Tommy to drive them. In the original, Sam pushes Tommy, and Tom looks scared when he's getting into the car.
Move it. Come on.
In the remake, there's no pushing. Tom opens the door for Sam, and then calmly gets in himself.
Move it! Come on!
They want to downplay the idea of Tom being forced into the Mafia and upplay the idea that he wants to be in the Mafia. This can also be seen when Sam returns from the bar to give Tom the envelope. In the original, this is played very dramatically. It's implied that Tom is very scared and pretty sure that Sam is going to shoot him. In the remake, the scene is played much the same way, but it's much more subdued. He comes off as concerned, but not necessarily scared. And part of this is, as I mentioned previously, they're trying to make him more of a tough character. But I think they also want Tommy to seem more curious and less afraid of the Mafia life. But this leads to a contradiction in the ending of the mission. In the original, Tommy is completely against working for the Mafia and wants nothing to do with them.
When I opened the envelope, I almost had a heart attack. There was more than it would cost to do the repairs. But I didn't for a minute think about their offer. I didn't want to join some criminals, even if they had all the money in the world. It's better to be poor and alive than rich and dead, right? I was going to get my cab repaired and try to forget it all as soon as possible. As my mother always said, you can never predict what God has in store for you.
In the remake, he's less against the idea, but still ends up deciding not to take the job.
When I opened the envelope, I could have had a heart attack. Enough to fix the cab. Nearly enough to buy a new one. I thought about what Sam said about work. I wasn't interested. The money was good, sure, but I didn't want to get in with criminals. Better to be poor and alive than rich and dead. So, right there, back then, I was out.
Notice that we lose the comment from Tom's mother. This is because the writers of the remake want to present the idea that Tom is choosing the Mafia life. He wants this. It is not something that just happened to him or he was forced into. But they can't take the step of having Tom actually accept the job. In the original version of the next mission, Tommy isn't working for the Mafia, so he can't work for Mafia in the remake, because the remake is sticking to the mission structure of the original game, even while changing the characters and story around it to the point that the mission structure may not make sense anymore. It's trying to both be the original and not be the original at the same time, which sets up a bit of dissonance. Well, that's it for this video. Next time we'll catch up with Tommy in the mission Running Man. Thanks for watching.